Thank you very much, Mark. Very good afternoon, everyone. Various times during the season, a number of teams have been flying their flags. Northampton and London Irish, remember, both set the pace early on. At times, the Saints in particular looked odds on to be here with us this afternoon. As it is, by general consensus, the two best teams, critically the two most consistent teams, get to play the defining game of the campaign. Wonderfully special day, not just for the players and coaches, of course. While we've not quite got cup final weather, today everyone here will remember. Spoken to so many supporters here who are taking in Twickenham for the first time, the perfect stage, whichever seat you're sitting in. And this is what it's all about. Held by Sergeant J. Ellingham from the Grenadier Guards, and in charge of the base from the RAF, Flight Sergeant Gareth Davis. It's what 9 months has been building towards. Yellow ribbons for the time being. Green, red and white, or black and red. We will find out. It's all about controlling nerves at this stage.
Yeah, it is. Just about now, the nerves are starting to be replaced with that excitement. They've just come in from the warm-up. The stadium's almost full now. They will have walked past that trophy, and it's about excitement. Still a bit of nerves because they just want to get into the game. They hate going back into the change room. You just want to get on with it. But the excitement has built massively.
People here for the first time. People who've been here plenty of times before. Here are the teams. Manu Tuolangi flew back to Samoa at the start of the week. His absence has impacted most of all on Horacio Aguja and Matt Smith. One of the try scorers in last season's final moves in from the wing to start a Premiership match in midfield. For the first time in 6 months, Aguja takes his place out wide. Up front, Martin Castrogiovanni in the front row and Jordan Crane in the back row are again given starters jerseys. Dan Cole and the Players' Player of the Season, Thomas Waldron, wait in reserve. Saracens have revelled in raising eyebrows all season, and the decision to pick their starting scrum half on the toss of a coin was so typical of the way they've done business. Having alternated 2 matches on, 2 off since September, Neil de Kock correctly called. He wears 9 with Wigglesworth in 21. What we'd give for a peek into the minds of 19-year-old Owen Farrell at the moment, the biggest day of his young rugby career, and also perhaps Matt Stevens, back from his ban, back at Twickenham, and now one of the big dogs in Saracens' so-called wolf pack. The decision to give Stevens the chance to rebuild his career, one of the brighter ones this season, and Leicester will have taken a little bit more time before deciding which of their stellar tight heads he'd be up against today, Ben.
Yeah, Nick, Dan Cole had to remain simmering on the bench as Castrogiovanni gets the nod, but at the scrum this near side will be titanic. Stevens really quick on the hit. Castro will build the power the longer the scrum lasts. Around the park though, both front rows have plenty of attacking threat. But at the line out, Saracens top the charts with Tigers just 1% behind, but Sarries really struggled against Gloucester. Leicester impressing in their semi, but look out for Maffey against Botha. It's a real standoff of 2 of the hardest hitters in the game. And in the back row, 2 of the best back rows around. Last year's man of the match, Jordan Crane, has done exceptionally well to see off the advances of RPA Player of the Year, Waldron. And with the breakdown, a major factor today, the winner of the battle between the awesome Jacques Berger and Craig Newby may decide the spoils.
Don't be silly, Ben. We know the backs decide who wins matches, and these guys certainly have got it on the cards. If it's a tight game, though, it's the tactical awareness of these halfbacks that will decide which route the trophy takes. Youngs and Flood need to find that early season form, whilst de Kock only has 50 minutes to put his stamp on the match. Both midfields are very effective. Barrett plays a pivotal defensive role. His securing of the midfield is made a whole lot easier with the absence of Manu Tuolangi. Smith replaces him, but is 2 stone lighter. He'll have to punch well above his weight to make an impact today. And into the back 3, well, they have it all. Speed and experience and size. Strettle has beaten 43 defenders, more than anyone else in the league this year. But Tuolangi, he's a bulldozer. He can go around them or he can go over them. And in his 6th final, he'll be looking for more of the same. So it's finally balanced all over the field, everywhere. What a final we've got.
Yeah, we really have, and everyone here knows it. Leicester finished top of the Premiership at the end of the regular season. They have the home dressing room, the England dressing room. So much big match, cup final, Twickenham experience for them. They've been re-emphasising this week that the only important thing, though, about getting here is winning here. Similar sentiment for Saracens. Just the third time the Londoners have made the short trip across town for a major final at headquarters. They won the old Tetley's Bitter Cup back in 1998, and we all know what happened last year. So we're nearly there. The shade of the Premiership might have changed over the last 12 months, from Guinness black to Aviva yellow, but some things remain the same. It's Leicester against Saracens again. Leicester and Saracens, the sequel. The clock can stop ticking. This is what it's all been about. It's time to go. What it's all about. It's why they work so hard. It's why they make so many sacrifices. Days like today will live forever. They'll be remembered fondly if they lift the trophy at the end of it. Leicester a win away from becoming English champions for the 10th time. Saracens around 135 years, but they've never once been the kings of England. Here is another opportunity for Mark McCall and his men. A season that has been so full of stories. The good, the bad, the ugly reaches its conclusion here. In charge, Wayne Barnes, third final in 4 seasons, oversaw the semi-final at Welford Road. He had a quiet day then. Dave Pearson and Stuart Terridge have the flags. Graham Hughes, the zapper. The nation's top judges, who are all going to the World Cup, are with us this afternoon.
Time on, please.
And the two who've lasted the distance best of all, and the showdown that's been looming since January. It's the Aviva Premiership final. It's Leicester and Saracens. Toby Flood kicked off, and Moritz Borter gathered. These early stages critical.
No, it's still in.
Neil de Kock at scrum half, having alternated all season. He called correctly. First call on the pitch is to go long, where it's picked up by a man who had an immense game 12 months ago. Ultimately the man of the match, Jordan Crane, Leicester's number 8. Waldron waits on the bench. Ball driven forward by Shooter. Flood. Dangerous, difficult tester for Alex Good, who began the season here back in September, wondering if he might have a job to play at fly half, but he's really made the fullback shirt his own.
Yeah, a good start from all the players. No one wanting to make that first mistake, so it's all a bit cagey. Saw Toby Flood field the ball from the kick-off there. Thought about a quick throw-in, but I think Richard Cockrell probably would have said, let's not take any risks early on and let Saracens get into the game, because we make silly turnovers.
First line out to George Shooter, a veteran of these occasions, all the experience of 5 previous finals. Half a dozen now for him. That arm might have been wobbling just a little bit though, and it didn't go entirely to plan, but it was eventually snaffled by Croft.
Yeah, excellent pressure by Joubert, and that'll worry the Tigers. Very well read. Steve Borthwick will have done his analysis, and he'll have every player on the same hymn sheet.
Ben Youngs clears long. Taken in by James Short, the club's top try scorer in all competitions this season. Barely heard of him this time last year. Barely heard of that man either. Owen Farrell, we all know about him now though, and he chases his own kick. Picked up by the Argentine Aguja, who picks his spots. It's kept in play though, athletically by Ernst Joubert, the skipper 12 months ago. Must have thought that his 2 tries had won them the title. Chases the kick, as does Brits. Young's had a little bit of time, which he ate into.
Where else would you have a club where the 8 fields the ball, passes to the hooker who stood back there, and he puts the high ball up as well?
Certainly wouldn't have happened with you, Ben.
Hold.
Yes. Passed it to him, Oz. Toby Flood goes high, picked up by Good. The chase was insistent from Matt Smith. Leicester challenging quickly at the breakdown. This is the key area, particularly early on, the breakdown. Stevens feeds Scott Brits. Had a quietish game 12 months ago. He'll be hoping to be a bit more involved this time, and Saracens have the first penalty. Leicester not releasing in the tackle.
I know you're on your feet, but you must release him first of all.
Very clear description by Wayne Barnes. If you're part of that initial tackle, even if you're just the assist tackler, if you stay on your feet, you've still got to let go of the ball, make an effort to take your hands away from the ball, then you can go back on it.
This is what
nice big
Brits
gap,
can
same
do.
as theirs.
This is how the game's changed. That's the hooker.
Hold the gap to Leicester. Hold.
When Leicester first came to the finals here about 30 years ago, Peter Wheeler would have been dropped for doing something like that.
Saracens choose a 4-man line out all the way to the back.
Ultimately, it released Kelly Brown. A short, painful charge. Here goes Brits linking up with Joubert. Short was up in support. First real attacking threat comes from Saracens inside Leicester's 22. Brits got the ball back quickly. Farrell dived on it equally quickly to make sure it remains London ball. DeCock waits, just waits until Nieto's in position for the next phase of play. Borta is shoved on by Nieto and Berger.
Definite theme that the Saracens' backs are trying to target the big front row boys of Leicester.
Barrett to DeCock, he's charging through. That was all about the clever footwork of Brad Barrett. Saracens have the penalty, and from that break and from DeCock's burst, the penalty and much more. There's a yellow card in Wayne Barnes' hand.
Well, yeah, I know that Saracens were very disappointed that Wayne Barnes didn't referee the breakdown as well as they thought they should in the Northampton semi last week.
It's gone against Ben Youngs. And an unwanted little bit of history for the Leicester scrum half. Just the second player to be sin-binned in a Premiership final. Andy Gomersall, the first for Wasps in the first final in 2003. And then Jordan Crane against London Irish 2 years ago. Very interesting start, Austin.
Yeah, there's all the chat about Wayne Barnes and his refereeing of the ruck. I think Saracens are taking matters into their own hands, though. They're turned round here by an excellent kick from Leicester, but watch how many numbers they put into a breakdown. They've been doing it in every single ruck. They've got 6 players in there, which is just unheard of. You normally have 3, maximum 4, but they commit 6 players, so that they're not allowing Wayne Barnes to have to make a decision. They're securing their own ball, and then once they get in behind and Leicester can overcompete, we see the sin bin.
Owen Farrell.
I'm not sure.
19-year-old, still at school and watching Glenn Jackson from the stands 12 months ago. The last time Saracens had a penalty here against Leicester, they thought it had won them the championship. A year on, it puts them ahead.
Yeah, good start for Saracens. There's definitely a tactic to switch positions late and go down this blind side, attacking the front row boys of Leicester Tigers. Very nearly get to the line with DeCock. And immediately Wayne Barnes in place with his eyes on Ben Youngs.
Restart taken in by Kelly Brown. Memories of his last trip here might be a little bit vague. You'll remember he was concussed by Matt Banahan in the Calcutta Cup. What his senses back now. What an addition he has been to Saracens' squad this season. Coming towards the end of his first season, hugely popular member. DeCock whose burst brought the penalty. And again, Crane is enveloped. This is the skipper, Craig Newby, softly spoken Kiwi, played for the All Blacks, now captaining Leicester at English headquarters. Flood goes high, chased by Smith, and Smith won it beautifully. Oh, how was that for timing? Anthony Allen makes a few metres around the outside. Here goes Newby again. Goodness me, the timing of that run from Matt Smith, though, was perfection from the boot of Toby Flood. Here goes Tuolangi. There is one Tuolangi here today. This is Aguja, the Argentine, does well, stayed up strong, stayed in touch. Tuolangi again. Crane to Flood. Castrogiovanni, the first time Leicester have been in Saracens 22. Flood. Here goes Hamilton. Tackle was made on Hamilton, but the penalty's Leicester's. We have to come back, though, for that take by Matt Smith right at the beginning.
Yeah, really impressive from the Tigers. They're doing all that phase of play without a scrum half. Matt Allen working exceptionally hard to get to the base and be the link player.
Is up there against number 1. Number 2 must release the ball and then go back on it. Go for goal.
Saracens 1 is Matt Stevens.
Look at this kick, the hang time is perfect. Matt Stevens doesn't have to check his stride. Matt Smith. Matt Smith doesn't have to check his stride, can go full on, takes it superbly from Joubert, and then all the momentum with Tigers. The penalty comes.
We rightly talked of Dan Hipkiss' try a year ago, but kind of forgotten that Flood weighed in with 18 critical points.
Language, quiet.
And Leicester are level. Great start to this final, though. Great energy and ambition from both teams, and it augurs well.
I think what's been really impressive is the balance. When there's been a time to go, they've gone, but otherwise they've played a steady game and no one's made a mistake yet.
There's the offence. Shooter saying hello to Brits in no uncertain terms, just to make sure he knows he's on the pitch. Reminder that Leicester playing without the services of Ben Youngs at the moment. He's been off for 5 minutes, another 5 minutes for Leicester to wind down the clock.
Hold. Yeah, you're okay now.
Anthony Allen acting at scrum half. And there's the first real sign, it's gone loose. And he will be the most grateful relieved man inside the ground.
Well, it's an example of what happens when you lose your 9. It looks like it's an easy skill, but when there's a lot of people on top of you, getting the ball out of that at speed to your 10 in his hands, as you see here, he stands up, and as he passes, he lifts his hands up, the ball goes up in the air and puts Flood under enormous pressure. Your 9 is probably the most crucial player on the field defensively.
Fair play to Anthony Allen, getting back and recovering his own mistake. It looked like it was a score then.
I won't be the only one thinking about Mauro Bergamasca at the moment, and Italy's experiment here in the Six Nations not so long ago.
This is a key battle here. It'll take a couple of goes probably just to settle everyone down.
Can't see far side, okay?
But it's so important that the front row get the impression in the referee's head that they're on top early on. Whichever team does that, much more likely to get the penalties.
Centre back from Cape Town, watching Ajertza against Nieto, Castrogiovanni against Stevens.
Pause!
Shooter and Brits in the middle.
Early engagement,
Saracens. Leicester get the free kick. Too much eagerness from Saracens.
Matt Stevens is very, very quick across the floor, and if he wins the hit, he's very difficult to stop. He'll just keep his legs going, but that timing of that is very difficult to do. Castrogiovanni much more likely to not go as quickly, but then build the power.
Stevens does have experience in this match. He was here 7 years ago in the beaten Bath team. Quickly back in play.
A great chase by the front five. It was all the front five boys that led that charge.
Barrett to Strettle. Again, his first season at the club, he lost it forward. It's gathered in by Aguja. Hamilton with the kick. The advantage is over. Swept up by Farrell. Attempted charge down was from Skivington. Here goes Aguja again, who's been heavily involved in the match. That's ambitious. From all of 55-60 metres.
Yes.
And Toby Flood is letting him just know how ambitious it was. He was screaming for the ball from Aguja. And he went for glory.
What a completely ludicrous option that was. Leicester had stood 4 people back to counter-attack. It was great counter-attacking ball, and as you can see there, Toby Flood's absolutely furious. You get very few occasions when a kick is loose and defensive lines aren't in front of you. You've got to take those opportunities.
On you, please, that's fine. Sorry, early engagement, far side. I'll give you time to adjust.
Steve Naffy, one of those challenging Thomas Waldron as the Tigers' newcomer of the season.
Full line out, yeah? That's mine, you'll find where you are. Full line out.
George Shooter was a 21-year-old with hair when he was part of the Saracens team that won the Tetley's Bitter Cup in 1998.
It's another loose one won by the Tigers, but they will feel under real pressure. George Skivington making the calls. You want to settle into your rhythm at the line out as early as possible.
Go to the right, go to the touchline. No, still in.
Majertza picked it up into a Twickenham final in each of his 5 seasons with the club. Leicester quite happy to see out time.
And we come.
It's a decent box kick from
Not forward,
Anthony
knock on
Allen.
from Green. Scrummage. Knock on, fellas. It's a scrum.
And the ball was knocked on.
The
We
5.
will have
Saracens
the scrummage.
ball.
Leicester's player of the season, Anthony Allen, form that's having him mentioned in England dispatches at the moment. And this is Flood's reaction to Horacio Aguja's drop goal from halfway.
Just your man around you. Oh, I don't know. I'll find out in a sec. How long on the bin, mate? Okay, I'll find out. Okay, we all there? On my engagement. Seconds. Crouch!
Just a couple of days for him and Matt O'Connor to the left. They wondered for a while if they'd be here after the problems they had in the semis.
It's a tough time for Craig Newby now because he's got to cover for the lack of Ben Youngs at the base. Get off as quickly as he can, which means he can't push as hard as he'd like in the scrum.
Here goes Farrell. This is short, coming in off his wing. He's got Strettle up in support. Leicester's tackles need to be sharp, and they were. Driven on by Berger. Saracens player of the season, the man of the match in the semi-final against Gloucester. Moritz Borta, third as a starter today to Hugh Vivian. Farrell, the teenager, finds Wiles. This is Kelly Brown. Again, Anthony Allen doing wonderfully well to drag Brown into touch. And the 10 minutes has been served out, and it's not cost them overly, Leicester. In fact, it's not cost them anything because it's 3-3, and Ben Youngs is back on having served his 10 minutes in the bin.
Let's go.
How quick did that 10 minutes go? Did you just feel it was like a minute or 2 ago?
Leicester's line-out has not been entirely smooth so far, but Saracens deciding not to challenge for that one in the air.
Well, Leicester brought Jordan Crane in from scrum half to step in and lift at the back. And because it was thrown right to the back, it meant they could do it because the ball was already in flight before he stepped in.
Players yours, Dave.
Cleared away by the returning Youngs. Gathered by Short. Signed an extended contract this week, one of 10 players who did. With a rather novel idea of announcing those 10 new contracts every hour for 10 hours on Tuesday. Flood just about keeps his feet as he rolled backwards. And from an acute angle, he makes a pretty decent fist of it midway between the 10 and halfway. Austin, what have you got?
Guys, talking about opportunities, and Saracens don't give many of them. Let's just have a little look at that drop goal by Aguja before. As he takes the ball, if that comes inside, he's got 4 runners that he can tackle. Look at the spaces that can be exploited as you go through, and they're 4 fast guys. That chase is all the forward, all the Sarries backs are back behind. Those opportunities are very rare in this game. You've got to take them.
Saracens line out. Kelly Brown rose highest. De Kock, that was behind Brits. It's not just the standing scrum halves who sometimes lose the radar. And then they were offside, and it's going to be a costly mistake, potentially.
Front of the man who last played the ball, doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's one of those reactions where you pick the ball up, but you're already in front. Good pressure at the line-out, but it's the tackle on Borthwick as he goes to give De Kock the ball. Just puts a bit of pressure on Newby, looked very quick off the line.
Sorry,
Touch and go whether he was offside, but Leicester win the penalty.
Toby Flood talking this week about the peculiarities of kicking at Twickenham. On a breezy day like today, the wind tends to buffet off the big stands. Hard to judge which direction it's coming from and going to. That will be on his mind here. They've ridden Saracens' early storm. They've ridden the sin bin. And for the first time in the match, the champions are ahead.
Just time your run, make sure.
Watching as we do his form in the warm-up, and he was barely missing. He's in the groove today off the kicking team. His two penalties have Leicester ahead. Here goes Crane again. Delicate little clip from Youngs. Picked up by Brits, though, who was perfectly positioned. He runs into Shooter and runs through Shooter. De Kock finds Farrell. This is Barrett. Oh, beautifully tackled by Allen. What a confrontation that's going to be today. Two best English trolls in the Premiership, perhaps.
Number 2.
Another penalty. This time against Shooter.
George Shooter grabbed hold of De Kock.
Number 2 entry. He came a ruck and then he came up the side and kicked the ball.
Perhaps still clearing his head, having been clattered by Brits.
Some carry. Just the pace he can put on it and the power through the contact, that extension of the knees just as he goes in with the fend in front of him to push Shooter away. Saracens really good at the moment at upping the pace when they get the opportunity. You see Shooter comes round the corner here, drives De Kock in and kicks it with his foot. Just look at the explosion as he gets to contact and the use of that spare hand that's not on the ball as an extra fend to get Shooter. Just all you've got to do is knock him half off, and then the power you carry knocks him to the ground.
He is truly bionic. He is a 21st century Steve Majors. He's old enough to remember who he is. It's the 19-year-old's Twickenham debut. First taste of the biggest of stages. Not that you'd know it. Flood and Farrell have started perfectly. 6 apiece.
They have. I mean, some of the control by that man Farrell has been superb. His delivery out of hand in terms of an attacking sense has been first rate. When he's needed to slow it down, the little kicks he's put through have been perfect. And flawless off the tee.
Well, halfway through the first half, it's flown by. The restart was taken by Moritz Borter. Long head, number 5, Nobo to his mates. Saracens happy to keep it tight, and they drew the penalty from Steve Maffey.
Just an hour on the 15-metre.
That's the 7th Premiership final in a row since their first here in 2005. They've actually got a mixed record. They've won 3 and lost 3. In fact, not lost on Saracens and Mark McCall this week. Fell short against Wasps in their first. Sale a year later in 2006. Wasps again, but then they beat Gloucester, beat London Irish, and last year, of course, they beat Saracens.
This is an area that Saracens have been dominating, although the stats won't have altered for Leicester because they haven't actually lost their own ball. Saracens certainly getting better ball off their line out. They've been impressive all year. That was an area that everyone said, Scott Brits, he can't throw in at the line-out. He could do everything around the field, but he can't scrummage, he can't throw in at the line-out. He's proved his critics wrong this year.
Saracens weren't entirely sure that was the case last season, but it was an impression that I think was perhaps allowed to build, and he struggled to shake it off, but absolutely no problems this season. And Newby then comes in late on Farrell, and he trod rather carefully around him, but meantime at the other end, Brad Barrett injects his own particular brand of mayhem. Here goes the cock, this is Stevens, goes to ground.
Farrell's limping seriously. Really felt that challenge from Newby just after he'd kicked the ball.
Joubert, the latest to get himself involved. Farrell's in the line, but he doesn't look overly eager to get hold of the ball at the moment. Saracens happy just to give him time to recover, but they are pressing. It's the cock, and now it is Farrell, taken on by Strettle. Two Leicester tacklers upend him. Here goes Borthwick. Saracens are working well in this particular area, hanging on to possession patiently, making ground. Borta, the latest to give it a blast. De Kock lines up Stevens, and it is the bulky loose head. He's the latest recipient, in a move that so far produced the most phases in the match. Good with the attempted drop goal, and it was a squaffly one. Never really got off the ground.
No, they didn't. They cleared the man out. Okay, I'm going to speak to him. I didn't see it. Someone's asking.
We've not had a drop goal masterclass so far. I think Alex Good and Horacio Aguja would be back for extra lessons.
Yeah, here's the hit as he comes through. He's jumped into the air. He knows what he's doing, but it's actually fairly legal. The problem is he catches his leg. Watch Newby's knee. Don't see it at the bottom of the screen there, and that's what caused Farrell's injury. Leg on leg.
If he's anything like his dad, he'll be a tough old character, won't he? Little dead leg won't stop him.
Strettle on the launch pad. Whereas Farrell seems absolutely fine, although the pass wasn't the greatest. It was picked up by the American Chris Wiles. Here goes the Namibian Jack Berger.
Ball is out!
Good needed to get there quickly. Brits again. Speed that Newby got back off his feet to try and rip that ball back. Such a feature of both sides play at the breakdown this season. Scott Hamilton from inside his own 22.
He was inside, always inside.
Into touch. Experience of Super 15 finals during his time with the Canterbury Crusaders. Winner in 2009 and 2010, and it's not that Leicester haven't missed Jordan Murphy, but Hamilton has done a very good job in his stead.
Just no, don't close. No, that's perfect.
It's better pressure from the Tigers, and Skivington at the back. He's stolen a lot of lineouts this year, George Skivington.
Despite that pressure, both sides lineouts are operating at 100% so far. The hooker to the fly half, chased again by Leicester's open side. It goes high. Another test for Hamilton. Barrett waited, brings him down. Flood.
Take him back in. He's okay. Yep.
Taken by Brits.
It's okay.
Runs into Castro Giovanni, which is where most journeys tend to end, but Moritz Borta did well, and then he did not so well to hand it back to Shooter. Brits is still down injured as a result of that challenge from Castro Giovanni, and now Aguja chases the ball. Good needs to be watchful. He's got Aguja and Ajertza, two South Americans hunting him down, but the young Englishman kept his head.
Impressively, Ajertza stayed with him, but Brits is down. He threw an amazing offload out of that tackle. He ran headlong into three Tigers, threw an amazing offload, but looks quite seriously hurt. Watch him get this ball away.
Castro, a lot better.
Brilliant, and then Moritz Borta thinks he'll have a go as well. Doesn't quite have the same effect, but look at this for an offload. Unbelievable. It's a good tackle from Castrogiovanni. You'd think that he would have tied up the ball. What a talent.
Just outstanding. Takes a lot to wipe the smile off his face. I think that's what makes him such a popular player, not just at Saracens, but around the clubs. He knows what a talent he's got, but he doesn't laud it. He just loves the opportunity to play the game in the way he plays it.
But he plays physically, but with a smile on his face, and you love people like that. People that will smash into you, or you'll tackle them, and then they'll pick you up and have a joke about it. It's a good setup from the Tigers. They've got the ball to the back. Most important thing is to keep the ball away from the Saracens' hands. They need to keep it moving though, or Wayne Barnes will tell them to use it.
5 is fine.
Moritz Bote has done a fantastic job to slip through and turn the ball over. They do so much work on it at Tigers, and they smash each other all week, but Moritz Bote just wheels round on the outside, pulls it over, keeps the ball on top of him, so it's not a ruck.
Turn over, mate.
Often overlooked component in Saracens' engine this season, and I hear tell that he might well be on England's radar.
Unless they get a massive shove on and take it about 5 metres out.
Deserves to be.
For the World Cup even, certainly for the Saxons. It's a South African, broad South African accent, but English qualified now.
Yeah, inside.
Not just in England that we've got big games. Still at the semi-final stage in France, but
we've only had about 3.
Watch that one here with us on ESPN HD a little bit later.
Crouch.
Martin Johnson.
Touch.
Graham Roundtree down to his right. He played in his fair share of Leicester finals. Both of them did.
Great scrummage by Matt Stevens.
De Kock. Farrell just forced to take a step backwards. Here goes Aguja. No attempted drop goal this time, just Hamilton instead. He's got Tuolangi outside. Not really seen him in 5th or 6th gear yet. Oh dear me. Just knocked Strettle out of his way like he wasn't there. But has given the ball away. This is Wiles, takes on Flood. It's Wiles against Flood, racing for the line. Flood under enormous pressure did well.
Sensational defence from Flood. Ran a really intelligent line, just did enough to run Wiles, who had the momentum off the ball. And then as he was stumbling, picked it up without dropping it. Match, well, try saver certainly.
Youngs flicks it back to the Kiwi Hamilton. Finds touch, but you can just see how eager Alex Good was to get on with this. Here goes Brits, shorts outside. Brits is going the long way around. This is short for the line. First try in the final belongs to Saracens. Oh, that's what Scott Brits can do.
Well, just the intelligence. It wasn't just about his ball carrying and his pace. Listen what Wayne Barnes asked the TMO now. It's a bit of a scuffle down near Wayne Barnes. Castrogiovanni involved.
Okay.
He's been finishing these all season, though. The top try scorer this season in his breakthrough season. We thought he'd scored a try in a similar situation in the semi-final against Gloucester. That one's fine.
No doubt. Great try. Made by the intelligence of Scott Brits. He spotted the matchup. Now he's running against one of his opposite numbers, one of the front row boys, Marcos Ayerza, who we've already seen isn't a slouch, but he just tied him in, drew the outside defender and gave a perfect pass and a definite try.
It still needed lots of finishing. That lower centre of gravity really carries him through short. In the tackle, he's very strong. Very rarely do you hit him and goes ground straight away. It's a very, very good finish.
On his Twickenham debut, television match official Graham Hughes has made up his mind. I think we know which way this is going. 80,000 are about to find out as well.
Thanks very much.
Saracens took the long route to the try line. It was Short who finished it.
The Saracens with number 11, James Short.
Well, there was nothing too shoddy about that. Boring Saracens. Not on today's evidence.
I've been surprised how much rugby they played in the first 20 minutes. Leicester, I thought, would come out and throw the ball around, but they've been beaten at the breakdown. Set piece, they haven't got it going. They've got to really turn it around if they're going to be in this game.
Farrell's toughest kick of the afternoon by some distance, but how about that?
People question whether he'd be a big game player. He's answered that superbly. Look at the decision by Brits to take on Ayerch on the outside. Meant Aguija had to stay, and then the despairing challenge from Hamilton, not enough to take him into touch.
Half an hour played of high-octane stuff. Hamilton, he was then taken out late.
Joubert's hurt himself, he's remained down.
De Kock to Barrett, who again cuts back inside, troubles the defence, held up eventually by Crane. This is Stevens. Borthwick. Giovanni, slowing the ball down.
7 was perfectly legal initially.
It's finally there for De Kock. Farrell to Good, whose quick line out set up the try. He found Brits. This is Andy Saul, who's on as a temporary replacement.
Through the middle! Through the middle! Hands away now, all players, 15!
Good. And is that the first thing Farrell has done wrong this afternoon? It might well be.
That's a difficult pass to take. I don't think you can put all the blame on him there, but again, you see what happens when someone goes into 9 who's not there. It was a clear 2-on-1 opportunity on the outside, Ben.
Yeah, brilliant by Brits again. To get to the outside, draw of the pass perfectly again, and then 2-on-1, just put your foot down, tie in Hamilton and offload on the outside, you've got another try. Toby Flood does fantastically well to get in at the breakdown, slow the ball down, and that's what causes the pressure to be put on Owen Farrell.
OK, what's back on then? Scrummage, green ball.
Just to clear up the
on my engagement, please.
Andy Saul inclusion, by the way. He's on for Ernst Joubert, who's gone off to have some blood seen to. We hear that Joubert will come back on at the start of the second half.
Yeah, I think he's probably found some blood that he's got earlier in the game, because he certainly is limping after that collision with Scott Hamilton. Again, I think knee on knee.
Team going forward, team bailed out.
Again, though, Leicester are playing a one-pace game, but perfect time for Ben Youngs to take a quick tap penalty. All the Saracens pack are on the floor. The rest of the defenders are backing off. Normally, you know, 6 months ago, that would definitely been a quick tap.
Yeah, you think Richard Cockrell's probably had a word, don't you, and said, look, let's not try and play too much rugby, turn over the ball. Let's play our percentages early on in the first half, and we'll see how the game opens up later on.
Cockrell's talked this week about how conservative Saracens have been playing up to this point. Like them or not, he said, they are effective. Don't score many tries, he said, but they tend to win matches, and early indications in this final are that might be heading the same way.
Except they're scoring tries.
He said they don't score many. One might be enough. Here goes Crane, who's had an industrious first 30 minutes or so. Ayerch. Big tackle from Berger. What an impact he's made again this season. Flood back inside to Hamilton, who'd cut a clever line. Nicely away to Flood again. Here goes Crane again. Steve Maffey clears the ball away for Youngs. Castro Giovanni. Leicester haven't had too much possession in this area of the pitch. They've not had enough concerted possession play at the moment. Castro Giovanni upended, or rather Tuolangi upended. Here goes Flood. This is Newby. Again, though, the tackling ferocious. Berger right in the centre of it. Turnover ball for Saracens, which is kicked away by de Kock. Straight into touch, but they'll come back for the earlier knock-on.
One stop, please. Yeah. Say that, Greg.
It looks like Joubert is actually preparing to come back on
just where he is.
Half-time. Showing the scars of battle.
Thanks, man. No, it's good. It's good to see both sides.
Austin?
Yeah, we've got an axis of Saracens attacking in the area that they've obviously done their analysis on. If we have a look at it, basically they're just trying to take on the breakdown. As you see them come round, look, Leicester look like they've got loads of defenders in position, but the two inside guard and bodyguard, George Shooter there, he moves out too quick with Tom Croft and creates a space. It doesn't get seen on the inside and filled up quick enough, and it's happening all the way through the game. And if you get your hands through the tackle, as Barrett did there and has done on numerous occasions, as we've seen with Scott Brits, it can cause Leicester problems throughout this entire match. That's a sign of research and coaching, and Saracens have certainly got the attacking upper hand at the minute.
Joubert is back on. Saul is off. Did Brad Barrett make our ESPN dream team at the end of the season? He was chief selector.
He was very, very close, Nick. Very close.
Hang on, he wasn't chief selector. He picked the back.
Oh, sorry.
Crouch.
Yeah, which means chief selector.
He is a chief, but he's
touch. Pause. Engage.
Not too many Gloucester players in it either. I don't think they've forgiven you just yet.
Well, to be fair,
here goes Joubert. This is de Kock, taken quickly. De Kock is making a real impression. This is Strettle bursting his way through. Saracens are playing a brand of rugby we've not seen from them in the last couple of months. Been into the 22 half a dozen times already now, and still they're pressing. Berger flicked away. Joubert went quickly, but Leicester were offside. They're just struggling to deal with the pace of Saracens' attacks at the moment. And the animation on the Saracens bench is clear to see.
just no one defending that blind side for Leicester. No one got off the scrum.
No, it's not.
Just meant all the other players who would have been defending had to step in. Bota carries well. And Castrogiovanni, who was a part of the... Here's the initial break. It's a good scrummage by Saracens to turn the Leicester back row away. Take Croft out of the game. The penalty eventually given for Castrogiovanni being part of the tackle, but they let him on getting back onside once he was spewed out.
Saracens have got some interesting selection headaches next season when Farrell sharing the shirt with a fit again Derek Hugard, and Charlie Hodgson, let's not forget, on his way. But at the moment, Farrell is the man, and Saracens are in charge.
Totally. All the momentum with Saracens. Leicester need to get some points before half-time, otherwise I think Richard Cockrell could be getting the hairdryer out.
Can I borrow it after he's finished?
You won't need it long.
Your wiggle fall off if you...
Just over 4 minutes to half-time, and a potential hairdryer. Picked up by Youngs. Not seen one of his trademark sniping runs yet. Not been allowed to, such has been the ferocity of Saracens' defence and its organisation. Hamilton. This is Smith. Manu Tuolangi is watching this somewhere back home in Samoa. I don't know if he can bear to be sitting in front of a TV. Here goes Newby. His family will be watching back home in New Zealand, where he started life as a 7 when he was a skinny little kid.
He was on his feet first of all, he'd been dragged off his feet.
He's been used in extremis this season, but has really grown into the role at open side, and Leicester have the scrum.
Because he was on his feet.
Yeah, some of the Leicester players questioning Jacques Berger was on his feet when he first came in. Certainly went off his feet. The ball didn't come back.
Oh, the problem is
Leicester wanted that penalty to take.
He's going to look that side.
Cut the lead down to just that try.
Okay, let's go.
Will be missing the early months of next season because he'll be in New Zealand with Namibia. And then visits into the opposition 22, the red zone.
This side as well with
3 times as many for Saracens.
That's what I'm going to make sure it stays. Okay, let's go.
He's legal there, he's come on his
Scrum,
feet.
green
Newby
ball.
didn't fall the way he should have done, but there he's definitely off his feet, and I think he's a bit fortunate not to have a penalty.
Yeah, he's doing quite well so far. Crouch.
Who's going to take charge of that?
Flash out, sling, remind him.
Let's go. Say again.
Nieto, Brits and Stevens back at Twickenham, by the way, for the first time
Pause.
since the autumn of 2008 when they played against the All Blacks.
Black, black, black.
Leicester penalty.
Yeah,
Far side,
came from
black.
the assistant referee. Castro Giovanni just starting to get the upper hand on Matt Stevens. Matt Stevens started really brightly. A couple of good scrums. The penalty starting to turn against the men in black. Straight in and down. That left shoulder just dropping underneath and taking Castro Giovanni with him.
No bind.
That's
Lost
an
his
ominous
bind
sign
and
for the
went to
Saracens.
No.
They can't afford to be giving away 3
Well, that's
points.
the penalty.
Touch judge
That's
on
it.
this near side is Dave Pearson, who's actually
me, I'll have
running line with a
complaints.
broken
Everyone has
hand
complaints.
today. Didn't stop him raising his flag or pressing the button or whatever he has to do to alert Wayne Barnes to the indiscretion.
Thanks.
He's not played much in the Premiership this season for Leicester. It's just his 10th appearance, what with injuries and internationals. But that's an important 3 points approaching half-time. Really important.
Boston United did a bit on the kick-off. The main thing when you score points is that someone needs to take control and make sure that everyone's focusing for the kick-off. Very easy to give away a penalty when you receive the ball.
Think back 12 months ago, Leicester restart, they went on to score. Tigers need to keep their wits about them for the remaining 90 seconds, get back in the shed. Let me take that now. Saracens, though, leading by 7. Only try of the match scored by James Short off the burst from
That's
Scott.
perfectly legal there.
To the final 60 seconds of what has been a captivating first half. Young's doing what he's built to do, but Saracens weren't fooled.
You've either got better eyesight or you're taking the...
Yeah, I think he decided he was going to do that before he saw what the opposition did. They didn't fall for it.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm going to do exactly the same as what I did earlier.
Sun comes out in southwest London for the first time today. The ball goes behind a big shadow. Martin Castrogiovanni. Leicester are just happy to play down time here. Take what they've got, which are 9 points in this first half. Time's up. Ball can go into the north stand as it happens. Boos from Saracen supporters, but I think Leicester will be quite happy with that. Matt Hansen makes his way onto the pitch for his presentations as the players head back to the dressing room for their analysis. But it's a half that a cup final deserves. It's been full of intrigue, full of ambition. The only try, though, has been scored by Saracens at the break. They lead 16-9. All the analysis to come.
More than 36,000 people.
The champions are rattled. Saracens have ambushed Leicester, playing a brand of rugby many thought they discarded for the practical and clinical 16-9. The North Londoners lead at the break. So wait to see who'll be crowned champions of England today, but in France the top 14 title will be settled next weekend. And you can see it live on ESPN. Toulouse booked their place in that final last night. Either Racing Metro or Montpellier were playing their semi. As we speak, we'll join them. You can see that right after we finish tonight. But next Saturday, the French top 14 final live from the Stade de France is at 7:30 on ESPN. Chris Ashton, Nick East have been watching that first 40 minutes. Are the champions rattled?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been a tough half for them, and we all expected Saracens to be the boring team, and I think it's been the complete opposite. We've just seen here for the last 30 seconds of the half, Leicester are counting the clock down to kick the ball out, so they're obviously a bit rattled, and I think Saracens have done the homework on them.
Do you think it's part of a great master plan of Saracens to have played this clinical rugby for the last few weeks and months, and then suddenly at the final unleash what they've got in their locker?
I think Austin was talking before the game about Vicarage Road being smaller, but Saracens actually finding the open fields of Twickenham to their benefit. I mean, they're finding holes around the ruck, out wide. They missed a Gildo's 2-1 chance to actually go further ahead, but Leicester, in only that Leicester way they can. You know, they're only 7 points down. They've eaten their way back to the scoreboard, and it's one score away, and they haven't played well.
Saracens are taking nothing for granted, but you've got to keep Skulk Fritz on a tight leash, otherwise he causes damage, doesn't he? That first try, all about his quick step and his quick thinking.
I don't know how he manages it sometimes. Some of the footwork he's putting on and the options he creates for everyone else around him. He's not your average hooker, is he? And you can see that putting a winger into the corner is not what hookers normally do.
But good finish there, you'd appreciate it.
Good finish. I thought he was in touch at first, but no, he's done well. He's done well all season, to be fair to him, short. He's a strong player, he's quick, and he's done well to get into the corner.
And Nick, it's hard to tell who's the England number 10 out there this afternoon. There's no way that Owen Farrell is inferior to the starting 10 that you play with when you run out here for England.
No, not at all. I think Owen Farrell and Neil Ducott are running the show, but it's down to the platform the forwards are giving them. They're winning a quick stream of ruck ball. They're changing the point of attack, which allows them to do that. They're not being predictable. Leicester have been a little bit too predictable in attack, and Saracens managed to slow them down with the great defence they've got. And they're getting on the front foot, which is allowing the halfbacks to control and run the game and having a good time out there.
We were talking with Martin Johnson before the game about big match temperament. Chris, does that boy man look to you like he's got it?
Boy or man, which one?
Well, he's 19. Where are you, man? You're a man.
Yeah, I think he's a boy with a man's head inside him, and he's definitely playing like that. His kicking's been on form. He's banging one over from the touchline. There's a lot of pressure on him today, and he's definitely not showing that.
His distribution has been fantastic. Just made the 2 errors. But I suppose Saracens, one negative, they might have had actually a heftier lead. Austin, I think, has got a take on that. Austin, what's your view on why they should be further ahead?
Well, Leicester's defence has been absolutely terrible in the first half. They've got holes all over the place. Nick Easy just said it then. The fact that Saracens are dealing with this wider pitch and Leicester aren't making accommodation for it. Let's have a look at the opportunity, the 2-on-1 that we spoke about. Look at that channel there. That is far too wide for your flanker to defend, and it puts you under a lot of pressure. Anthony Allen sees it late and steps in, but it's too late by then. He can't drift properly. Now, if Alex Goodard had a little bit more pace, he would have been able to get up to the outside and really draw Tuolangi, but he isn't able to get there. That pass is then too far to Strettle on the outside, but Strettle is still away. He's on the outside. If he runs down that channel, it's still a 2-on-1 on the outside, and that is a big opportunity, all down to the fact that Leicester's defence just really isn't up to it in the first half. They will be getting a steaming in there from Richard Cockrell.
They certainly will. Saracens currently in control, but they will take absolutely nothing for granted in this Aviva Premiership final. They have learned by painful experience it only matters who is in front on the scoreboard when that final whistle goes. They lead 16-9, only 7 points between them and the defending champions. There'll be more to come from the Tigers. You can bank on it. The second half on its way. The walk for Matt Hansen raised £100,000 last year. They've done it again this year, 110 miles from rugby school here to Twickenham, going through 103 locks as well, accompanied by narrowboats supporting the walking team from all 12 Premiership clubs. They've completed their task today, and rightfully getting the applause of those assembled here at Twickenham this afternoon. Now, a bit of advance warning about our coverage of the Emirates Cup at the end of July. Arsenal, Boca Juniors, Paris Saint-Germain and Thierry Henry's MLS side, the New York Bulls, contesting the annual pre-season curtain raiser, and we'll be showing it all live on the weekend of the 30th and 31st of July on ESPN. OK, just before we press play for the second half of this riveting 2011 Aviva Premiership final, let's hear from Sarah, who's with Peter Richards.
Thanks, Mark. Well, the coach's behaviour has obviously been a talking point in the run-up to this final. So Pete here has been keeping a close eye on the coaches for us, particularly Richard Cockrell, of course. Has he been managing to curb his enthusiasm so far?
Yeah, well, what was interesting before the game, the demeanour of both the different coaching staffs. The Saracens guys sitting behind us were all smiles and joking amongst each other. Richard Cockrell was stood there bouncing on his toes, very serious, as if he was a player, just about a player. And it was interesting to see the two contrasting points in that, but actually, barring coming down to speak to Ben Youngs when he got sin bin, he's been very, very quiet in that first half.
But the Saracens bench have been quite animated too during that first 40.
Well, that's it. There's an interesting relationship between Brendan Venter, who's flying back from South Africa every now and then, and Mark McCall, the now head coach. And there was a moment there where there was a little bit of animation in Mark McCall talking to the people on the touchline, and Brendan tried to interject, and Mark gave him a look of, hey, I'm in charge here, you know. You've got to pipe down a little bit and let me do the talking. So I bet Brendan didn't have many words to say in the changing room.
Well, we'll have to see if they can keep their emotions in check during this second half. Nick, back to you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Mark McCall and Brendan Venter forging their relationship when they played together alongside each other at London Irish. Been such a seamless transition when Venter decided he needed to spend more time with his family back in South Africa. So seamless, in fact, that McCall has yet to lose as the boss in the Premiership. I wonder if at the 10th time of asking, he will be the coach to fulfil the owner Nigel Wray's ambitions of becoming England's top club. And while we talk about those two, the man on the right as well, Paul Gustard, bears mention as well, because it's been the defence, it's been the dogs of war, the pack that has really held them in good stead in that first half.
He's had a big effect, because the other thing that is his responsibility is the line-out defence, and that has been absolutely superb.
Steve Borthwick, one of those who understood the pain and lived with the pain of defeat for so long at the end of last season. Perhaps dealing with the fact now that his England international days are over. This is what it's about for him now.
I think that's the problem, is because it's the last game of the season, it lives with you. There's nothing you can, we'll sort it out next week when you get into the changing room. And particularly if you've lost the final the year before. I've been in that situation and then lost another one. You start questioning whether you're ever going to win one, and it is a long time, and those scars are what drive you on in the big finals.
The final 40 minutes of the Aviva Premiership season. Perhaps the final 40. We might be going to extra time, who knows. For the time being, it's Saracens who lead still the champions, but for how much longer? Toby Flood got the ball away. Well, we were talking about how much we'd enjoyed that first half. Austin wasn't entirely sure.
Yeah.
You're still waiting for it to explode a little bit, are you?
Yeah, I just get the sense that maybe Leicester have got a secret plan of just soaking up pressure, soaking up the energy.
Please.
They've been here before. And this first 10 minutes, this half will tell us whether or not that's true or whether they're just playing poorly. Sarri is a complete control for me.
Line-out's perfect so far, and as soon as we said that, you almost knew that one would go wrong.
Two knock-ons. First one by Green, then by Black. Scrum Black.
The Leicester hand, and it'll be a Saracen scrum.
Yeah, it's good line-out defence from Skivington again, and Young's, all he has to do is pick the ball, but he's looking to see if there's a break on for him, and he spills the ball. But a much better line-out defence from the Tigers.
One of the issues Richard Cockerell's got is the fact that if Youngs is having a bad game, he can't. James Grindle's the sort of player who's not going to come on and turn games around. He's a really steady, good rugby player, but he's not going to come on and run the length. And you always know with Youngs, he's got that chance in him that he could potentially go 90 metres in the last minute of the game to win it for you, so you're not going to take him off.
Don't try and go inside him.
One of the things we were thinking of at half-time was the bench. Dan Cole remains an option. Thomas Waldron, of course. When will they bring him on? It's probably been pre-planned, 50 minutes, 60 minutes.
Engage!
I assume that Waldron will play a part at some stage.
See a much better scrum from Matt Stevens, wins the penalty. You just wonder whether his scrum fitness has completely come back. We saw him be turned the other way the last couple of scrums of the first half. He's had a bit of a breather, and that shows his power. He's such a power athlete.
Team going forward, team checked it on the floor.
Saying this week that making his way back into the scrums over the last couple of months has been a bit like being involved in a little car crash every 10 minutes or so, but he's dealing with it very well now.
It's just good body position on that far side. Nieto does a fantastic job of Ayerza, turns Ayerza onto his shoulders. But that's the problem for Stevens. If he sees off Castrogiovanni, it's another world-class tight head on to face him.
Yeah, of course you can. You speak to me whenever you want.
Saracens
if you get a good distance, they're not head-to-head.
and
It's when you just start creeping a little bit as well. So if you just keep that good gap as well, then it doesn't seem to happen. But it's on the far side, and you've asked me to be this side as well. So you see the problem.
the Premiership's kicking statistics this season will tell you that Owen Farrell is not really up there with the best. He is top of the tree in the biggest match of the season. In the final, Farrell is nerveless. Saracens extend the lead to 10.
Well, we saw in the semi-final, he missed a couple early on, but what was really impressive is his temperament. And he came back, kicked that winning penalty that took them away from Gloucester. He's a big game player.
Crane half thought about getting the ball back into play again.
Timing right.
It's interesting you talk about the reaction to poor kicks. Andy Farrell was telling his young lad this week that you've got to forget about them. You've got to get back into the game, and so far, young Owen hasn't had to worry about it. He's been perfect. Joubert up quickly, nicks the ball off Tom Croft. Borta to Berger. Leicester start losing the line-outs. And alarm bells really are beginning to ring.
Particularly when they throw to Tom Croft, who's their banker. He's so athletic and fast. I think the throw was probably a little bit too looping.
Barrett made life very difficult for Hamilton. But,
accidentally offside, hit a man, then hit a man in front of him, scrum Leicester.
Two Saracens chasers managed to conspire to get themselves offside though, so Leicester survived.
This is the set piece is so important. And it's just a looping throw that allows Joubert, who's up later than Croft because he doesn't know the call, just to get that hand in. And now an equally important moment is this scrum. How Castrogiovanni on Iurza will react to what Stevens and Nieto did to them at the last scrum. Secured them 3 points.
Touch! Pause! Engage! It's okay, he recovered.
Here goes Hamilton, Tuolangi. For the first time in the match, running with some menace, but not running far. He was upended by Brown.
You can hear Steve Borthwick bossing his troops. Leave it now. Don't risk giving away a penalty. Let's get out in the defensive line. Stick 14 people in the defensive line. Then Ben Youngs has no option but to clear his lines with a kick.
That's the chase. Not that insistent, and Good had time to gather and kick forward, and it spins away into touch.
And that was a good result because he was going to get tackled into touch anyway. Got an extra few metres. And a pressure line out now for Leicester, who lost their line out. They'll take a quick throw.
Best way to deal with a line out that's not functioning that well is to throw it in before the opposition can get there, and that's precisely what Leicester did then. There's Matt Smith starting today because Manu Tuolangi isn't.
Nick, what's striking me is the intensity of the pressure in the aerial battle. When either side kicks, you look at Saracens' chase, they're always meeting man and ball. You watch Leicester, as we saw with a kick there. It's a bad option. Your winger's on the floor, so's your fullback in the ruck, so you've got no one with real pace to chase that kick and apply pressure. Saracens in the air are completely dominating.
Brown wins the line out.
Brilliant defence from Marcos Iurza. Gets underneath Steve Borthwick, who was at the front of that. Drives forward and ends them all there and then.
Joubert whips the ball away to Farrell, but he's caught by Newby. And that's the first time in the match. Short, the try scorer, fumbled the ball, but backwards. Wiles chases his own kick, gathered in by Aguja. This is Hamilton. Runs around Farrell, tries to create the time to get the ball away for Tuolangi, but he wasn't being allowed the time because Barrett was hunting him down. Well, if he's kept that in play, Good has done unbelievably well. Stretton slips, Leicester drive over the top. They've got a sniff here of a
That's
turnover.
a penalty to Leicester, handling in the ruck. Maffey does an unbelievably good job. Goes in for the tackle, stays on his feet, and just drives forward, puts all the pressure on Short, who ends up having to push the ball back with his hands. You can't do that in a ruck. Maffey there doesn't get committed and flat on the floor, just keeps driving forward, takes Barrett out. The cavalry arrive, and Short ends up trying to push the ball through his legs. He can't touch the ball.
Let's have another look at this, how well he did.
That's awareness as well as how far away the likes of Aguja are in the chase.
Now here's what was agreed at the end of last week. Heads you start, tails you come off the bench, and Wigglesworth's about to come off the bench. Again though, another big kick. Again, the kicking remains peerless, and Leicester remain within reach. As Richard Cockrell makes a significant substitution as well, because Thomas Waldrum is on. Waldrum on to replace Crane. We saw that Saracens are changing their scrum halves as well. So 10 minutes into the second half, we're beginning to see the changes.
Well, you wonder whether Richard Cockrell's used the blood that was dribbling down Jordan Crane's nose to bring Waldrum on as an impact player for 10 minutes. Go and run yourself into the ground for 10 minutes, and then you'll come back off and have another rest.
So many people this week and reading the papers this morning, so many thinking that for some reason they had a sneaking suspicion for Saracens, but as much as they've been ahead for much of the match, it still remains tantalisingly close. And it's Leicester, of course, it's Leicester.
How we come, fellas!
Flood clears outside the 22. Here goes Brits. Strap yourselves in. By Skivington.
Does a good job, so did Castrogiovanni, not to get tied in.
Ball came off Waldrum's fingers, but it was picked up by Allen. Taken on by Youngs, this is Aguja. Tackle was made by Wiles, American on Argentinian. Anthony Allen involving himself again. Here goes Flood. Here goes Allen, back to Hamilton. Oh, the tackle needed to be made by Britt, and he's hurt himself again. Picked up by Castrogiovanni. It was all a little bit tight as Youngs tried to cotton onto it. He knocked the ball on, but not for the first time. Schalk Brits is in the wars.
Yeah, that famous tackling technique of using your face. What a collision.
Seemed to work for you, that technique. You must have done a lot of tackles with that face.
Don't talk to me about tackling, Austin. You have never made a tackle in your whole career. Look at that, 55 metres for a hooker, 9 carries, and that offload stat. Every time he takes the ball into contact, he's looking to get it away. And a good tackle percentage as well, 100%, and they've been big shots he's been throwing in.
Changes in the front row. Matt Stevens has done his work in the final. Set to be named in the England Saxon squad for the Churchill Cup, which is named on Monday at Tighthead. Interestingly, that's where England want him to play. Let's have another look at Brits on Hamilton.
Knock on.
That's why you should wear a crash helmet, really.
Don't creep. Please don't sink too far to the right.
It's good because he's marking the other man. He just steps in to aid Kelly Brown on the inside, who's not put under a little bit of pressure by Hamilton's pace. Excellent defence.
Touch. Pause. Engage.
Saracen scrum without Stevens, concedes the penalty.
17 came around, came on the floor. Goes straight, hips out, went on the floor.
Reskill.
17.
On to replace Stevens.
Difficult first impact to get yourself up to speed on the scrum.
Number 17, hips came out, caused it all to go on the floor.
Guys, just looking back at that break, or the tackle by Schalk Brits, actually Anthony Allen, if he distributes the ball to the outside instead of inside on a pre-called plan, Leicester Tigers have got 4 runners at 1 defender. And it's just little decisions like that. Sometimes you have that pre-call and you just go with it rather than playing what your eyes see.
First time in this Aviva Premiership final. A kicker fails with his kick.
Stop.
And it remains a 7-point score.
Substitution for Leicester Tigers.
And whoever that was has the love of their life on.
Replacing number 3, Martin
Cole replacing Castro Giovanni. Typically industrious match. Not really seen him that much in the loose, though. Such has been the ferocity of Saracens' defence. It's been well drilled. The plan this season and today was to outwork Leicester, to work harder than they do. In training, in the mind, in the match, and at the moment it's paying off. Ajertse did very well to hang on to that as Newby fed him. Newby got it back.
It's an interesting point, that, because Richard Cockerell always used to have a really hard training week in the week of a final, and his motivation was, do you think that the team you're playing against on Saturday will be working as hard as this? Well, obviously they have been.
Ball was charged down, but rather fortuitously for Anthony Allen. Flood feeds Smith. His father Ian was part of those great Leicester sides that played here in the late 70s and early 80s. Ian Dosser Smith in the back row. His son, a try scorer a year ago, playing today to try and rescue the situation for Leicester, who are keeping it alive with Croft. Hamilton for half a second had an inch of room, but Croft perhaps wisely hung on to it. Allen picked up by Waldron beautifully. Another penalty. This one much simpler than the one that Flood fluffed a minute or so ago. So therefore they can go for the drop goal, and it's a kick to nothing, really. They'll come back for the penalty.
And then you put your hips around.
Kelly Brown, the man who was coming in from the wrong side.
Number 6 entry.
Great pick-up from Waldron. The leg drive between the 2 defenders. And just the hand while he was on the floor of Kelly Brown, reached in. Leicester looked like they were going nowhere, did they, Austin? But you've said to me before that you think sometimes Saracens' blindside defence can be a little bit suspect, and it's where they found the hole.
Yeah, I think they were saying that themselves, that they just need to get round there and get 1 or 2 rucks a little bit quicker. If they can really turn those rucks at the minute, 2 or 3 seconds quicker, then they're going to have a much more opportunity to attack down that channel.
Scrum number 70. A bit different at the break now.
Leicester might have been within a point, but Flood has just missed his last 2 kicks. What a moment. Hugh Vivian, 34-year-old, on for a record-breaking 238th Premiership appearance, 13-year career for him. Struggled to remember his debut this week. He'll sure remember appearance 238 if the score remains in Saracens' favour. Here goes Brits, the indestructible Brits. Made of titanium. Nothing can interrupt his progress. Farrell kicks long. Hamilton readjusts his position. Held up momentarily by Farrell. Gets underneath it though. But what about that? Again, it was Brits.
Where does he get his energy from? Scrummaging is one of the hardest things in the world to do.
It's an interesting pass. It certainly interested Alex Tuolangi. Now the ball was kicked away by George Skivington. Richard Cockerell and Matt O'Connor formulating their plans. Actually, the most startling revelation this week, have to say it, is that those two have been going to yoga classes to try and calm themselves down.
Obviously,
Can you imagine it?
Obviously, looking at Matt O'Connor, it shifts the weight easily.
Sure, it wasn't yogurt classes.
No, I thought it's silly. So I've got to make a decision. If it's in, it's a penalty.
Jordan Crane has been in the wars. Thomas Waldron now on. He's scoring
it's good,
this
thank you,
season.
Leicester.
Nick, can you imagine it was a tactic of Leicester to come into this game and try and grind Saracens down, play them at their own match and just win by penalties? The side that scored more tries than anyone else this season. They haven't even looked like scoring, not even close.
Scored 100 tries this season in all competitions. Absolutely right, was they?
One-man tackle.
Barely looked like scoring one so
No
far.
hands now.
As we approach the hour mark in the final. The concern for Saracens is that the lead remains just 7 points.
And away, captain.
Brits foraging around the 22.
Off your feet, don't use your leg.
Wigglesworth lost the coin toss, but on now.
It's a big call by Saracens, the way Owen Farrell's been kicking today, not to go for the points. Take that attempt at a drive. Just prove to Leicester that they're going to grind the pressure onto them. Try and get an easier shot from Farrell. Doesn't work for them. Penalty goes the other way.
Off your feet, and then Seddon was on his feet.
Kelly Brown, the last two, get back onto his feet. Doesn't find touch from the penalty. Instead, it invites Short to run back at them. Flood made the tackle. He's quickly back on his feet to get into that defensive line. Here goes Vivian. Held up by Allen. Wigglesworth to Farrell. This is Barrett. Reece Gill. Tackled by Shooter.
Not the side. Thank you.
Farrell to Good, who tried to get the ball away quickly, and it might yet work for them. It was swept up by Joubert. Farrell finally senses it's time to kick for territory.
Back feet inside.
Hamilton will do likewise. And Saracens will have the throw-in bang on their own 10-metre line as Petrus du Plessis, South African, prepares to make his entrance. He played the full 80 minutes last year. He'll be on for the final 20 this.
Well, Toby Flood needs to get a grip on him, on the game. He's missed a couple of penalties and then he missed that clearance attempt that would have given Leicester a line out on Saracens' 10-metre line. Saracens throw in now.
Okay, watch is on.
Steve Borthwick, the captain of Saracens, line up. Seemed to work at their base in St Albans on this phase of the game. Newby tried hard to disrupt, but quite enough to get ahead of Joubert. So far,
on your feet,
from
pick
the
and
Saracens'
drive.
perspective, 10 out of 10. Leicester have only lost one.
Still in.
Interestingly, Jordan Crane looks like he's about to come back on, so you were right, Ben. Giving Waldron a 10-minute blowout, but we're not sure whether he's going to come back on for Waldron. Leicester might end the match with both Newby, with both Waldron and Crane on the pitch. Youngs to Flood. Newby inside to Allen. Backs conspiring again, and for half a second it looked like Flood had gone beyond Berger.
Certainly Flood looks to have had the shackles turned off and allowed to play a bit wider on this wide pitch at Twickenham.
Oh, the tackle needed to be important from Short because Aguja again was on his own. If only Waldron could have got the ball out quickly enough, but Short was up to make sure that didn't happen. Leicester just turning up the heat here. Croft, 3/4 of the way through the match. Ball was lost, gathered in by Vivian. Brown was the reason the ball was lost. Barrett to Good, to Berger, to Joubert. This is Short. Score of the game's only try so far.
Fine play on. Ball is out.
Wayne Barnes is letting a lot more go at the breakdown now.
Brits to Brown. Straddle back to Brown. Saracens moving the ball with a real ease and purpose.
No hands too.
Beginning to open up. Duplessis, tackled by Waldron.
Fine.
Good. Oh, interesting. Didn't work. But it's still Saracens' ball. Joubert strapped by Aguja, and Leicester have the penalty.
He lost the ball and then he was on the floor and played it.
Player on the floor who lost it, played it. And Youngs tries to inject some pace, but this is Short.
It's as though both teams had a tactic. Right, we'll keep it tight until 20 minutes to go. Then we'll have a gentleman's agreement, we'll open it up and it'll be a free-for-all. Totally different tactics from both sides.
Aguja to Waldron. Not the first player to slip on a greasy surface. We've had a lot of rain in London over the last 24 hours. None, thankfully, today. The sun's doing its best to peek through the clouds overhead. Flood does his best to get through Saracens' defence.
Take a step, Floody.
Good recovery of the ball from Waldron. Skivington should have stayed on his feet.
Here goes Brits. Joubert loses the ball. That's a collector's item. Crane comes back. But for who? It looks like it's Newby.
Watch his stop.
It is
Watch his stop,
Newby
fellas,
who gives way. And Leicester will end the match with both Crane and Waldron on the pitch.
It surprises me a bit, that, because if Wayne Barnes is being a bit looser at the breakdown, Newby's the exact sort of player you want on the field, because he turns a lot of ball over, more than anyone else in the Leicester team.
Okay. Scrummage on the 5, fellas. It's going to be Leicester
George
ball.
Shooter is the new captain in the absence of Newby. And with more experience. Last season's winners medal, by the way, still hanging on the end of his bed where he left it the night he got home. At the moment, it looks like he'll be going back with a loser's medal, unless Leicester can do something significant in the remaining 15-16 minutes. Free kick, taken quickly. Aguja. The biggest of backs, but did his best to blast a few holes there, as does Waldron, who's slightly larger. To Nafi. Youngs. Taken by Crane. Here goes Waldron.
It's a penalty, isn't it? That's got to be a penalty.
Flood. Just getting his wires crossed with Smith.
And release it! Be quiet, 7, please. That's 3 times now.
Here goes Crane again. Seen a great deal of fluency from Leicester's backs in an attacking sense.
I think it's the line speed of Saracens and also their ability to not overcommit to the breakdown. Leicester got 4 or 5 in that breakdown. Saracens had 1.
And it meant in the end that as good as Toby Flood's kick was into the 22, he really had little other option.
Yeah, we saw earlier even the break Leicester made, it came from a break down the blind side. But in midfield in particular, Saracens' line speed, very, very impressive.
Leicester have been in this situation so many times before. Their 20th major final since they became regular visitors here in the 1970s. Seen this grand stadium change down the years since those old days of the John Player Cup final. Looked a bit different then, and the crowds were a bit smaller. 1979, 18,000 turned up to watch the final against Moseley. 62,000 more here today. And the stadium not built of wood either. Here goes Aguja.
He's been impressive for Leicester. Stayed on his feet really well all game.
Flood. Senses that Smith has some space. Strettle came in with the tackle. Youngs to Flood. This is Alan Waldron again offering himself, but just look at the speed of Saracens' defence. One step and Waldron's tackled. Crane, Croft outside him. Set.
All feet.
Oh, Hugh Vivian diving over the top. Leicester penalty. Still plenty of time to go.
The counter-up from your captain was spot on. That player went off his feet.
Correct. No matter how experienced you are, sometimes you just can't help dipping your hand in.
Borthwick does really well, stays on his feet, leaves the ball and just drives through. And the ball becomes free on the floor. Hugh Vivian dives on it. You can't do that. A huge kick for Toby Flood now. Get himself back on track with his boot.
Yes, he's missed the last two.
Graham, just give me a penalty count.
This is the furthest in terms of distance, but the easier of the three in terms of the angle.
Wayne Barnes there asking for the penalty count to be given to him. I wonder what relevance that has to any future decisions.
Exactly. Never heard that before.
A dozen minutes to go. 4 points in it. It would be so Leicester, it would be so Leicester, but there are just 4 points in it.
Penalty for Leicester Tigers from number 10, Toby Flood. Replacement for the Tigers.
We saw from the little statistic that Saracens have conceded 6 penalties in this second half. As George Shooter makes way for Rob Hawkins from a Bath hooker, ending his first season as a Tiger at Twickenham. This is Tuolangi. Youngs. Who's chasing it? It's Hawkins, the new man, and he almost battered Brits, but now Brits has gone. Still going. Brits has the support of Joubert, juggles with it, but held up just outside the 22. Wigglesworth releases short. Aguja was there. It was a deliberate knock-on, it seems.
I won't have 3 players in Tanderson shouting and waving their arms at me. The knock-on is for you. I make the decisions if they're deliberate or not. Knock-on, scrummage.
There's a scrum for Saracens.
Yeah, what the Saracens players were asking for is if you go for an intercept one-handed and don't get it, here's the Brits is great, just phenomenal. This guy is great to watch. It's the way he bounces off people and his ability to know when the tackle's coming and still get the offload. But if you go for the intercept with one hand and don't get it, I think that's a deliberate knockdown by the letter of the law.
They've got a point there, the Sarries players. I think a penalty.
Touch!
Yeah.
Pause! Engage!
Just over 10 minutes to go.
Ball is gone.
The final tantalisingly poised. Farrell finds short, the only scorer on the big day so far, try-wise.
Hands away! Just hold.
Vivian. Almost up to the 22. This is Wiles. Wigglesworth to Good. Taken on by Duplessis. Wigglesworth again. Won the championship with Sale 5 years ago, and then the ball's spilt forward. Here goes Aguja. It's been as prominent as I can remember all season for Leicester. Largely having to work from deep, however. That's been Leicester's story in this match so far.
10-metre.
Farrell, kick went a little bit too far.
A lot of players back for Leicester.
Despite that, Hamilton kicked long, and he might now regret it because Good will fire himself.
Wonderful kick. Aguja thought he had that area covered. Couldn't have put it more finely into touch.
Well, that's what Martin Johnson was talking about before the match, his ability to control a game. It's what he did against Gloucester in the semi-final. And Good was beautiful again here.
Look at this, Aguja thinks, yeah, I can walk, I've got it covered. But that trajectory, keeping it low,
Saracens or step.
and he didn't have the time to recover.
Hold that. Don't go in.
Saracens talking this week about the importance of building pressure, dealing with the smallest margins, squeezing Leicester.
Already spoken to your captain.
Youngs clears. Leicester desperate to try and get the ball in an area of some danger, but they just can't get out of their own half at the moment.
Tyertza making the tackle. It's a huge amount of work for a prop. We talk about Brits and his work away from the scrummage. Leicester giving away the penalty.
Take me back, Dave, if necessary.
Farrell, wide to Good. Wiles to Strettle. And they will come back for the penalty. Penalty that would restore Saracens' 7-point advantage.
Ruck form, hand in ruck.
Nick, out of all the successful sides you've seen play in finals, the teams that have won, have you ever seen a team take off their captain and then their vice-captain with 20 minutes to go? At a time when it's tight, you need leadership, you need old heads, a little bit of quality out there. Unless they're injured, would you take them off? I can't work it out. I don't know why you'd do it.
Perhaps to a certain extent, it's on occasions like this where the quality of the bench plays against you sometimes, because you feel the need to bring these players on to give them a run out and almost on a bound to make those changes that other clubs might not make.
See the penalty there, Aguja putting his hands in at the ruck. Leicester have been the most disciplined team this year in terms of the penalties they've given away. The discipline today could be what cost them the final.
Farrell from the acutest of angle. The voices are London voices. Oh, and the look on Owen Farrell's face. They know there's still work to be done. They've been here and they were here a year ago, but it's looking very, very good now.
I love his attitude. At half-time, he's grimacing and applauding his team.
And now Saracens are offside.
From a kick-off.
Knock on, man in front.
It was the short, flat kick-off Austin demonstrated before the game. Obviously, that one was kicked a little bit better than Austin's. And it's so important to focus and not get carried away when you've kicked your points.
Was already formed.
Switch on for that kick-off.
Okay.
Otherwise, those 3 points can be completely wiped out.
We're getting to the stage in the final where it's just about nerve. Who can keep it? Oh, it crept over, and Toby Flood's sixth penalty equals Charlie Hodgson's record in a final.
Here it is, Hamilton again. We saw it was him who turned over, the ball comes off Schubert, and that means Borthwick can't be stood in front. If it had just come from Hamilton, that would have been okay, but because Joubert got a hand on it as well, Borthwick's in an offside position, he can't play the ball.
Youngster who's already had a season he won't forget in a hurry, Billy 12 Trees is on for Scott Hamilton, trying to work out what that means in terms of Leicester's formation in the backs. Will Aguja go to fullback?
Yeah, Aguja to fullback, Smith to the wing.
Inside.
And 12 Trees into the centre.
Inside.
5 minutes to go. It's not been the masterpiece that last year's final was, but it was always going to be compelling, and it remains so.
Yeah, you're good, man.
The entire season that began here on the opening weekend at Twickenham boils down to 5 minutes. Waldron's underneath the steepler from Farrell and caught it on his shoulder, but he was wrapped up by Brown and co. No room for error now. No room for any more concessions of penalties. Allen. Who's got the most left? They've all pretty much run themselves into the ground. What impact can the replacements make? Replacements like 12 Trees. Flood taken on by Hawkins.
Well, high risk for Leicester now, playing in their own 22.
Here goes Allen. Misses out Waldron, goes instead for Croft. This is what he does so well. Tuolangi was riding shotgun, not far behind. They've almost taken it up to halfway, but just look how hard they're having to work to make those metres. A Ziertzer who's worked as hard as anyone in a Leicester shirt today. Youngs to Waldron. Tuolangi. Tuolangi still going. Oh no, surely not. The tackle was made by Brits. After all he's put in, he's still got enough left to get back to make the tackle. But Leicester are looking as ominous as they have all match. Youngs to Flood. Ziertzer pleading with his legs to go a few yards further. Instead it was 12 Trees who took the ball on.
It's that black wall in front of them again. They've reset well, Saracens.
Last year it was Danny Hipkiss that broke the hearts and stole the trophy. Who might it be this year? It's a Ziertzer. It was very nearly stolen by Saracens. That's the danger now for Leicester, and it's knocked on by 12 Trees. A reprieve, a chance to breathe for Saracens.
Well, Saracens' defence has been superb. Yes, Leicester have made some good breaks, had some attacking play. But look at that tackle stat. Only 6 missed from nearly 90 tackles of Saracens. 11 missed through only 64 for Leicester. And it's that ability in midfield just to close things off, reset themselves. That's why they're still in the lead.
Well, it's been their unity as a team, hasn't it, guys? They've really hunted as a group. You know, even when Alassane Tuolangi breaks through, there's 3-4 guys breaking a gut to get back there to make the tackle. Scott Brits, Short, they've all been all over the field. Excellent defence from Sarries.
And Brits' ability to get back to his feet, get onside, compete for the ball, slows it down and allows that black wall in midfield to get back into position.
I won't start the watch until they're here, okay?
The self-styled wolf pack, hunting in numbers and hunting like they've not eaten for a week this afternoon.
On my engagement. Yeah, who do you want? Okay, stand up, please. 1 green replacement.
80,000 utterly gripped by what we're seeing. Marcus Ziertzer is making way for Boris Stankovic. Mammoth afternoon for Ziertzer. Stankovic on the bench in 2008 and 2010, off the bench in 2011.
I think the decision there is Boris Stankovic is probably the better scrummager and one of the best loosehead scrummagers in the game, to be honest. And I think that Richard Cockrell wants to win a penalty here so they can kick to the corner and get the line out. So it's all on this scrum for Boris Stankovic.
Stankovic.
No, they were not.
Scrummaging against the South African Petrus du Plessis. That's where our focus of attention
Crouch.
is.
Touch. Pause. Engage. Far side. Far side.
Scrum went down on the far side.
Stankovic needs to be careful and get his bind though. His hand went down.
Barnesy,
What
hinge and legs back at the same time.
Say again, mate.
Hinge and legs thrown back at the same time.
Chase your feet, don't hinge.
It's the voice of Dave Pearson, the touch judge on the far side that we heard.
Crouch. Touch.
Saracens accelerated here on the back of 11 straight Premiership wins. The 12th continues to prove the most elusive, and there's the penalty. 90 seconds to go. Drill the ball as close as you can to the try line. Go for glory.
We've seen how much Leicester have struggled at times throwing the ball in under pressure. We saw what Jeff Parling did last year, stealing the ball from the Saracens throw on their own line. Is it payback time?
It's not a bad kick from Flood. He could have gone 5, 6, 7 metres a little bit further if he'd have taken the risk, but they've got possession. 60 seconds to go. What a climax to the season. Gathered in by Croft.
It's a reasonable set. They've taken Saracens' first pressure. We just need to reset and not go over that breakdown. They've dropped the ball though. We're going to have to play wide of this breakdown now and reset something.
Got to protect that ball. Ed Slater's standing off. 7 metres short. Not really been a vintage season, I think it's fair to say. But once again, the cup final is heading towards the most dramatic of conclusions. Waldron, how much does he have left? One more turnover, and this might be that.
Well, Jordan Crane is the go-to man here because he's very good at staying on his feet. We saw him score that try in the final against London Irish a couple of years ago.
Time's nearly up. Surely not again. There can't be a Saracen supporter at home or in the pub who can watch this. This is agonising. This is what the title means to the champions. They're refusing to give it up easily.
Well, it's about control for Leicester. They need to not make any errors because of the clock. Ignore the clock. Just keep battering away, chipping away, and hoping someone slips or makes a mistake as they go in for the tackle.
Crane gathers again. One more Leicester error, and Saracens are the champions. That defence has stood firm all match, and it's being tested as much as it has been with time up. What a finish to the match, what a finish to the season. 6 metres short. Slater again, driven back, there's no way through.
But all those Tuesday afternoons when Richard Cockle, Tuesday mornings, has his forwards doing this. For a moment like this.
Alassana Tuolangi is waiting in splendid isolation on this near left-hand side. Will the forwards trust the backs to save their bacon, though? There's the try line. Crane wanders in, drives to the line. Surely not, surely not. There's nothing Saracens can do about it at the moment. Youngs slapping the horses into line. One more thrust, and they may well have rescued themselves again. Saracens know that if they win it, then the championship's theirs, but that's the try line.
Wayne Barnes needs to look at the offside line, look at the Saracens players, they should be back on the try line.
Croft waits, Waldron waits. Is it to be the player's player of the season? He's going for the line.
Well, the post actually is the try line as well, so if someone can hit that post, it's a try.
This is extraordinary. Almost as extraordinary as the finish last season, and we never dreamt that that would be repeated.
Look at all the backs getting involved now.
Taken on by Dan Cole. The backs are waiting for it. Crane. It's monumental defence from Saracens, but there's still work to be done. Waldron. '23rd phase in the final play of the final, and still we don't yet know who will be the champions. Ball's out. What's Young's doing here? Shown no inclination to use the backs just yet. Toby Flood suggesting they get on with it.
No hands.
Well, Alex Tuolangi's moved off his wing now and has gone more into midfield.
Oh, it's like the 15th round of a super heavyweight contest. One more punch, one more slip bind, and the contest will be over. When do Leicester spread it? Will they spread it? This is Crane
I think it's
again.
after this phase. Youngs has just told Flood.
There's too many defenders in front of them. They shouldn't go wide. They need to stay tight around the posts.
Here goes Slater again. It's almost as if there's a force field 5 metres out from the Saracens' try line. Crane again, the 30th phase of the final. Now then, here we go. This is Flood. Saracens need to make their tackles. The season rests on this moment. Youngs is driven backwards. Saracens driving them back towards the 22. Penalty to Leicester. Oh, it's time to take a breath, folks.
Relax, no quick-tap penalties. No quick-tap penalties. He's injured. 1, 2, 3, off their feet.
Decisions. What do you do, guys?
Oh, it doesn't matter, mate, does it?
Well, you've only got one choice, Nick. You've got to tap and have a go at it.
I personally would get Alex Tuolangi running from distance, running from depth, tap the ball and give it to him, make him make the initial contact. I don't think they'll do it. I think they'll give it to Crane or Waldron. Crane will probably tap and go himself. The other option is to set up the scrum and use Boris Stankovic and Cole's power and try and get a march on, get the Saracens backline motoring backwards before the ball comes out.
10 metres, Stewie, they all right where they are?
Saracens' defence then was so impressive. They were so good that they had Berger stood out in the midfield just in case he was man-marking Tuolangi. And that tells you a lot. If you can defend like that with 1 or 2 of your forwards down around the breakdown, that shows commitment, it shows an unbelievable desire to win this trophy.
We'll get everyone off the pitch and then we'll start.
Time was up about 10 minutes ago, but still we play. 6 minutes of added time. It's taken by Jordan Crane. He's still 10 metres away from the try line. Took 6 minutes in the last passage of play.
Let go.
Whose will is strongest?
Let go.
Berger came in from the side there, got away with it.
Well, that's Leicester almost being out-Leicestered, aren't they? Give away the penalty because it's not enough for Leicester. You can afford to give away the penalty if there's any chance that you can get away with something.
Take a step, Kelly!
Steve Borthwick crawls out of the ruck. In the darkest corners, Leicester are searching for inspiration. Flood did really well, but the tackle was a really, really important one, and it was made by Farrell. What a match Farrell has had. Crane, though, continues to bang up the door. And it's a penalty to Saracens. The debate ends. An extraordinary finish this year lands their way. They still need to kick the ball into touch. Owen Farrell can't do it because he's got cramp. He's going to give it a go. Away it goes into the east stand, and Saracens are in orbit. The 12th Premiership win in a row at the end of the season was their most important because it means that they are the champions.
Well, there's an old adage in rugby, Phil Larder's favourite saying, defence is what wins you trophies. And today, defence won Saracens the trophy. Unbelievable in midfield,